I hope you're ready because today we might have a bloodbath on our hands. This is going to be the Glock 19 versus the SIG XMACRO comp. Who will come out on top? All right, folks, so let's have the tail of the tape. We are using a Gen 5 Glock 19 MOS, and we added an afterburner compensator so that we could fairly compare it to the SIG XMACRO comp. Now, we're going to be talking about a number of different categories that we've identified that we think we can actually make a comparison with. We'll talk about reliability. We'll talk about accuracy. We'll talk about customization. Now, all of these things said, I am a big fan of SIG. I'm also a big fan of Glock. So this opinion is just going to be mine and my own based on my experiences with both guns. But I don't know how this is going to come out. We're just going to see. All right, let's start off with reliability. That's the first category in my mind. That's one of the most important. It's about as rough as an elbow strike. Now, if you are putting guns out there that are not reliable, obviously that's going to be an issue. These guns, neither of them have any problems with reliability. The Glock is storied for its reliability, and the SIG P365 also is doing really well in this category. Just because of tenure, I think I'm going to have to go with a Glock 19 as far as being the winner in the category for reliability. It's just been around for such a long time, and you have a lot of different military agencies that have been using it for a while. It's got a really long history of being an extremely reliable platform. So for this one, Glock. All right, in my mind, the next category has got to be ergonomics, and that one's brutal. It's gonna be like a big knee shot. Now, the problem with ergonomics is it's a challenge to fit everybody's hands. We've all got different sizes, different walks of life. We're gonna come at the same issues and try to find a gun that's gonna fit them well. For me, the Glock has been challenging as far as the ergonomics, especially the 19. Because I have such big hands, I definitely have to use this extended back strap, because if I don't, I get slide bite. Now, it's also kind of short. So in this instance, it's all I can do to get my hand on there. I also like the fact that you can take this macro, have a longer grip, deep beaver tail on the back, and I have more than enough room to get all my hands on, all my fingers on, and have good ergonomics in a thinner platform. This just feels a little bit better in my hand because even though this is a double stack, it's thinner overall. So in this category for ergonomics, it's got to go to the SIG. All right, so one of the more important categories is definitely going to be accuracy. The Glock 19 has a 4.016 inch barrel, so that should help overall. We're all going to check this out. I'm going to shoot 3 shot groups, 2 of those, and we're using Remington UMC 115 grain ammo at 7 yards. Let's see what we come up with. We'll start with a Glock, and then we'll try the SIG. All right, let's check those out. You can tell my dot's off a little bit. I held high or upper to the right over here and got a little better grouping here, but I'm pretty happy with that performance. It's definitely an accurate gun. All right, we're moving on to the SIG. Now the XMACRO comp has a 3.1 inch barrel. It's a little bit shorter than the Glock, but probably won't make too much of a difference at this distance. Again, we're shooting 7 yards, 2 3-shot groups using Remington UMC 115 grain. Let's see what we come up with. All right, let's check them out. Pretty close, but I can definitively say, based upon these measurements, that in this category, the Glock is going to take accuracy. Next category might be a little controversial, but we're going to talk about customization. Now, customization is important, especially after that first purchase. how are you going to write the story of your firearm? It's almost going to be like an uppercut. Now, ultimately, we know that the Glock has been around longer, and there is an enormous aftermarket for Glock. There's a lot of support out there. And when you consider in the fact that there are clones out there that offer a lot of different accessories and attachments, you got a lot of opportunities to change your Glock to make it look the way you want. You can upgrade triggers, change out the slides, lights, whatever. There's almost no end to what you can do with a Glock 19 these days. That being said, when we consider that the macro comes from the P365 family, man, SIG really doubled down on the ability to be completely modular. So what's happening with this is you can pick your frame, you can swap it out, you can have different slides, you can take this, even the P365-XMACRO comp, and take the slide off and stick it on an XL frame. You got a bunch of different choices here. You can even order them from the factory just how you want them. So even though Glock's been around longer, I'm going to say that you have a slight advantage in customization for the SIG. Let's talk about value. Now, it's not just going to be price, but that's certainly a starting point. I think this one might be like a teep or a kick to the gut. Are you okay? All right, let's get started. The Glock 19 Gen 5 MOS, I'm seeing them for around $620. Now keep in mind, to keep this fair, we added the Radian afterburner and ramjet. That's an additional $389.95, making the whole total package $1,009.95. By comparison, you've got the SIG XMACRO comp at $799. Enough said. Let's talk about optics. This category is important because I really feel like they are the future of handguns. I know there's a big argument out there about them being necessary. They're absolutely not necessary. That's not the argument. The argument is that they provide a lot of advantages to shooters. In this instance, both guns are optics capable. Doesn't matter what red dot you put on there, pick the one that you want and throw it on. What matters is that they both have it, so this category is a wash. All right, I'm gonna give you a break on this one. No shots, because this is gonna be a quick one. We are gonna talk about capacity. Capacity is very important. In this instance, it's very easy. The Glock 19 holds 15 rounds. The SIG XMACRO comp holds 17. Ooh, here's a big one. Trigger. Triggers are very personalized. People like certain triggers, people dislike other triggers. This one's gonna be brutal. It's gonna be like the Muay Thai coconut cracker. Yeah! Oh, hey. Sorry for that. Are you all right? Okay, hang with me, because we're almost done. Now, the Gen 5 Glock has my favorite Glock trigger. That being said, I think there are a couple of advantages that I prefer with the SIG. Now, this is very predictable. You get a clean break every single time, but on top of that, you've got a bowed trigger here, and you also have the trigger safety, which I'm not a big fan of. If we make the argument that this trigger finger discipline is our main safety, then this really isn't necessary. It's one of those situations where it's probably done because a lot of departments out there, being law enforcement agencies, make it a requirement. So let's move on to the SIG. What advantage does the SIG have? First off, I like the flat trigger, and I like the angle out front here. They break roughly about the same in my estimation. There's a pullback to a wall, and then they break. It's still a striker fired gun. But I also appreciate the lack of trigger safety in the middle of the trigger. All right, that coconut cracker was pretty rough. I'm gonna give you a round to recover. Is that all right? Okay, let's talk about concealability. This is a big factor. People come in different shapes and sizes, so what is the overall concealability of each different weapon? Right now, I'm using a Filster floodlight and I'm carrying the Glock 19 AIWB. So I'm gonna stand here. This is a shot of me. I'm gonna turn to the left, turn to the right. But you can see Glock 19 in the Filster holster. All right, so now we've got the SIG XMACRO Comp in the same Filster floodlight holster. I'm going to show you what that looks like. Now, even though the SIG has a longer grip than the Glock, I'm going to give the advantage in this category to the SIG, just because it's about 1 inch wide, and that overall thickness helps you reduce the outer layer that's going to print on a cover garment. So the advantage is going to go to SIG. All right, the battle is raging on. There's still no clear victor in sight, but we are reaching the championship rounds. Right now, we're going to talk about compensators. Compensators are those wonderful devices that let your follow-up shots happen even quicker. In a fight, that would be like a double jab. Oh, buddy, your nose is bleeding. Okay, what we're going to do right now is fire both of these guns. We're going to fire them rapid fire and see what kind of results we get based upon feel. It's hard to create a definitive process that is going to allow us to say anything other than feel. This feels better than that one. I don't know that I'm going to be able to determine how much better one is over the other, but we'll fire both of them. We'll roll in some slow-mo footage to hopefully show you what kind of recoil we're dealing with, and then we'll pick a category winner from there. Wrapping up the category of compensators, I'm going to have to award it to Glock, or should I say Radian. The Afterburner and Ramjet do a really good job of helping reduce muzzle flip. The Macros compensator also does a really good job, but the overall mass, I think, combined with the Afterburner on the Glock, just do a slightly better job of keeping that muzzle flip down and increasing your speed of follow-up shots. Now, again, this is to say that the Macro does a really good job, but there's a slight advantage with the Afterburner. It's not exactly a fair comparison, but it was the fairest we could do to make the Glock more comparable to the SIG. Ladies and gentlemen, we have a winner of this epic battle. You sink in a devastating submission called the Matalillo. Hey, he's coming around. You all right? Okay. Welcome back. Here is your victor. All right, folks, keep in mind this is just my opinion. I did as fair a comparison as I could. But in the categories that the Glock won, we're looking at reliability, accuracy, and the compensator. The XMACRO Comp carried ergonomics, customization, value, capacity, trigger, and concealability. Now, I want to encourage you to head over to peeptactical.com, see the full article to get more details. But before you do, drop into the comments below and let's see what kind of civil and urbane discussion we can have. Or not. I understand how people are, and it's okay if you want to lend the eye a terrible aspect. Cry havoc! Leap into the comments section and let's slip the dogs of war!